It was nearly 3 a.m. when my phone buzzed beside me. Groggy, half asleep, I blinked at the screen, expecting maybe a work alert or a random notification. Instead, it was a message from Linda, my wife, who was supposedly at a professional conference in Las Vegas. The text read, "Just married William. Been sleeping with him for 8 months. You're pathetic, by the way. No build-up. No explanation. Just a digital slap in the face." There was even a photo, her in a white dress, William beside her in a rented tux, both beaming under the flickering neon of a tacky Vegas wedding chapel. I stared at it, but there were no tears, no screams, no panic. Just a strange calm. I typed one word, "Cool." Then I hit send. I knew I had lost a wife, but she was never really mine anymore. And in that moment, I decided I wouldn't lose anything else. Linda and I had been married for just over 5 years. We met through mutual friends, hit it off quickly, and things moved fast. Maybe too fast in hindsight. The early years were good, even easy. We shared the same apartment, then bought the house together, though technically it was in my name since I had the better credit and savings. Linda never cared much for the details. She was fun, energetic, a little impulsive, but I thought that was just part of her charm. The first few years were stable, but things started to shift about 8 months ago. She began traveling more for work, spending longer hours at the office, and acting colder around me. Her phone was always face down, always locked. She started hiding her location, brushing off my questions, calling me insecure or needy if I brought anything up. I noticed she started mentioning William, her coworker, a lot. At first, it was innocent, work stories, casual jokes. But then his name came up more than mine. She became distant, emotionally unavailable. And still, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe work stress. Maybe burnout. I didn't want to believe she could be the type to cheat. Turns out, she was already doing it. As soon as I sent that one-word reply, "Cool," something in me shifted. It wasn't rage. It wasn't heartbreak. It was clarity. Cold, focused clarity. She thought I'd break down, beg, maybe even fight for her. Instead, I went to war, quietly. The first thing I did was open my banking app. Linda had always used my credit cards, but she was only an authorized user. By 3:15 a.m., I had revoked her access to every single account. Her cards were instantly useless. I logged into our joint subscriptions, Netflix, Spotify, even the grocery delivery app, and changed all the passwords. I reset the router, changed the Wi-Fi name, wiped the smart speakers. Every single thing she had access to, I took back. Then I called a 24/7 locksmith. I told them it was an emergency and paid the extra fee without hesitation. While I waited for them to arrive, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, documenting everything. Screenshots of the text, the photo, the timestamps. I made copies and saved them in multiple folders. I wasn't just reacting, I was preparing a legal trail. By 4 a.m., the locksmith was installing new locks on every door. By 5 a.m., even the garage code was changed. I walked through the house one last time, checking each window and entry point like I was securing a fortress. Then I went back to bed. Not because I was tired, but because I finally felt safe. For the first time in months, I slept peacefully. At exactly 8:03 a.m., I woke up to loud, aggressive knocking at the front door. Still half asleep, I opened it to find 2 uniformed police officers standing on my porch. One looked irritated, the other mildly amused. "Sir, we received a call about a domestic disturbance. Your wife claims you've locked her out of the home," the older officer said. I didn't flinch. I simply held up my phone and scrolled to the message from earlier that morning. "Actually," I said, "she's not my wife anymore. She married someone else in Vegas 5 hours ago." I showed them the text. I showed them the picture. The younger officer raised his eyebrows. The older one leaned into his radio and said, "Ma'am, you're going to have to take this to court. If you've legally married someone else, we can't force him to let you in." I could hear Linda yelling through the radio, her voice shrill and furious. "He stole my stuff. My money. I calmly explained that the house was purchased before our marriage, that all the accounts were in my name, and that I hadn't touched a single item that was personally hers. I even offered to let them verify. They did. After 5 minutes, they told me I was within my rights, but not to damage or throw away her belongings. Understood, I said. Then they left. And I smiled. Not because I'd won, but because she had just officially lost. Later that afternoon, just when I thought the drama had peaked, Linda returned, and she didn't come alone. William was with her, looking like a man who instantly regretted every choice he'd made in the past 24 hours. Behind them were her mother, Barbara, and her sister, Susan. It looked like some kind of pitiful intervention. Barbara started yelling the moment she stepped out of the car, demanding I let Linda in, screaming about how I was being cruel and vindictive. Susan, arms crossed and glaring, called me a manipulative control freak. I stood on the porch, calm, unbothered, and waited for them to finish. When they finally paused, I looked at William and said, "You guys work for a company with a strict no-fraternization policy, right? HR might find that wedding photo interesting." William paled visibly. Linda broke into tears, accusing me of financial abuse, saying I had stripped her of everything. I simply pointed toward the garage. "All her belongings are boxed up. Nothing damaged. You have 1 hour." They stomped over to the garage. At the U-Haul place, Linda tried to use one of her old credit cards. It declined immediately. William had to pay. The look on his face, resentful, confused, a mix of embarrassment and regret, was priceless. This wasn't the romantic Vegas aftermath they'd imagined. It was cold, ugly, real. They loaded her things in awkward silence while I stood at the doorway, sipping coffee and watching the illusion of their fantasy crash to the pavement, one cardboard box at a time. The next morning, I got a call from my lawyer, and he was practically laughing before he even spoke. Linda had filed for an annulment, claiming she was drunk, emotionally manipulated, and didn't fully understand what she was doing when she married William in Vegas. On top of that, she was now trying to claim partial ownership of the house, arguing that we were still legally married when she left. My lawyer, a seasoned divorce attorney who'd seen it all, couldn't believe the audacity. "She sent you written proof of adultery and bigamy," he said. "We're not just going to win, we're going to make her look ridiculous." We also found out through mutual acquaintances that William had been living with his mother, under the impression that Linda had money and assets. Apparently, their whirlwind marriage was based on lies from both ends. A fairy tale built on fraud never lasts. It didn't take long before Linda tried to rewrite the narrative. She launched a full-blown social media smear campaign, painting herself as the victim of a toxic, abusive marriage. Her posts were dramatic and filled with half-truths: how I trapped her, how I emotionally neglected her, and how she found love where it was safe. Her mother and sister were quick to share the posts, and some of our mutual friends, those who didn't know the full story, actually believed her. For a few days, I watched the comments pile up, with people calling me names, sending me passive-aggressive messages, and even trying to publicly shame me. But what Linda didn't know was that I had a tech-savvy friend named David. David helped me recover deleted Facebook messages between her and William, stretching back over a year. In those messages, she openly bragged about how she was playing the long game and securing the bag before leaving me. My favorite, asterisk, he's so stupid. I've been draining his grocery account for months. Asterisk, I posted screenshots of the messages, including timestamps and bank records. Within hours, the sympathy she had earned evaporated. The same people who had defended her went silent. Her fake story crumbled under cold, hard truth. After her social media narrative collapsed, Linda went into what my lawyer later called an extinction burst, a desperate flurry of chaos before complete collapse. First, she got her father to call my workplace, accusing me of harassing and intimidating his daughter. Luckily, my boss already knew everything and professionally shut that down with a simple, "That's a personal matter. Don't call here again." Then, one night around 3 a.m., Linda tried to break into the house. The new security cameras I had installed caught everything: her banging on the front door, screaming incoherently about stolen memories and her grandmother's jewelry, which was hilarious because her grandmother was still alive and wearing that very same jewelry. A day later, she sent a text claiming I'd killed her cat. "We've never owned a cat. I'm severely allergic." She then started calling my mother, crying and begging for help. "I made a mistake," she sobbed. "William means nothing to me." My mom, never one to sugarcoat, calmly replied, "You should have thought about that before you married him, dear." Linda was spiraling. Every move she made only made her look more unhinged, and every attempt to regain control backfired spectacularly. Just when I thought the madness had peaked, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. On the other end was William's mom, Sarah. In a tone soaked with entitlement, she said, "I think you should be a man and take Linda back. William made a mistake. He's young. Marriage is about forgiveness." I was stunned for a second, then asked, "Are you seriously asking me to take back the woman who cheated on me, married your son, and tried to ruin my life, just so your son won't have to deal with the consequences?" Her reply, "Well, when you put it like that, you sound selfish." I hung up. The day of the divorce hearing finally arrived, and Linda showed up in full spectacle, wearing a white dress like she was attending a wedding instead of ending one. She looked smug, like she had one final performance left in her. Her lawyer, clearly uncomfortable with the entire case, tried to argue that the Vegas marriage didn't count, because Linda was under emotional distress and had been manipulated by William. The judge, an older man with a sharp eye for nonsense, leaned forward and asked, "What exactly do you mean by emotional distress?" Her lawyer stammered, "Well, he promised her a future." She felt trapped. She believed this was the only way out. My lawyer stood calmly and handed over a thick stack of papers, 73 pages of Facebook messages, screenshots, and timelines. "Your Honor, we have extensive evidence showing she had been planning this for over a year." The judge flipped through a few pages. His face went from professional to puzzled to disgusted. He stopped and read aloud, "Asterisk, can't wait to see his stupid face when I take him for everything." Asterisk, then he looked over his glasses at Linda. "Did you write this?" Linda flushed. "That was taken out of context," she whispered. "What context would make that better?" The judge replied flatly. The divorce was granted immediately. Linda was awarded only her personal belongings and her car, which she was still making payments on. She was denied any claim to the house or my finances. On top of that, she was ordered to pay me $500 per month for 6 months, as repayment for the certification program I had funded for her last year. She didn't say a word as the ruling was read. Her silence said everything. Outside the courthouse, the chaos exploded one last time. Barbara, red-faced and furious, screamed that I had destroyed her daughter's future and called me every name she could think of. Susan tried to throw her coffee at me, but her aim was terrible and it ended up splashing across the chest of none other than Sarah, William's mother, who had come to support young love. What followed was a shouting match between the two women that quickly escalated into a full-blown parking lot meltdown. Security had to intervene. William, notably, didn't show up at all. According to Sarah's shrieking in the parking lot, he had already moved in with a 22-year-old bartender he met at the casino bar during the wedding reception. Linda collapsed on the courthouse steps, sobbing uncontrollably. Not the kind of soft, dramatic tears that make people feel sympathy, but full, ugly crying with red blotchy skin and runny mascara. "This isn't how it was supposed to go," she kept wailing. Susan, clearly exhausted, tried to console her. "It's okay, sweetie. You can come stay with me." Linda sniffled and groaned. "I can't. Your apartment smells like cats and sadness." Even Susan blinked twice at that one. For the first time, I think her own family had finally had enough. In the weeks that followed, the dust settled, and I found something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. I sold the house, and thanks to the insane housing market, made a solid profit. I moved into a sleek downtown condo with big windows, no memories, and complete silence. No more arguments about nothing, no more passive-aggressive tension. Just peace. I started seeing Jennifer from my gym, a funny, grounded woman who had heard bits of the story and found the whole thing absolutely wild. She even started bringing me coffee labeled, "Not William," just to make me laugh. Linda, on the other hand, was last seen living back with her parents. William's bartender girlfriend dumped him after discovering the truth, and both he and Linda were fired from their company due to violating the no-dating policy. Barbara was reportedly banned from 2 Starbucks for yelling at baristas who looked like "that bastard," though no one knows who she meant. Susan went silent online, later posting vaguely about cutting off toxic family members. Sarah, ever the classy one, filed a lawsuit against Linda for emotional damages to her son. Meanwhile, my lawyer framed a copy of their Vegas marriage certificate. It now hangs in his office. People keep asking if I regret being petty. Honestly, not even a little. She lied, cheated, and played games, and in the end, she lost everything. Me. I gained peace, closure, and a damn good story. She played stupid games, and she won stupid prizes. Only thing left to say is, cool.